listeners, and welcome to episode 110 of the Nigerian Football Weekly podcast. I'm your host, Okoye, and as you can see today, I'm recording from a very, very different location, Motideko. So bear with me for my DIY setup. I'm just trying to get this content out as quickly as possible, and I'll see what I can do for the next subsequent versions of the podcast for as long as I'm here. So without any further ado, there's a lot of football to talk into and dig into, and our players have been balling as usual, so no surprises there as usual. Starting with the Premier League boys as usual with the Fulham boys, Alex Iwobi and Calvin Bassey on Wednesday. Alex Iwobi actually scored 2 goals as Fulham absolutely thrashed Brighton 3-1. Star player so far this season for Fulham. And as if that was not enough, on Sunday they held Arsenal to a 1-1 draw. Arsenal were very lucky with Saka's disallowed last-minute goal. But you can't say Fulham were not good value for their draw, considering how hard it was for Arsenal to break them down in the final third and create chance from open play. I won't lie, since I've been here, I've had so much time to think about football. And my head is hot. My head has been spinning about this game, man. It's really been painful. So I'm hoping tomorrow on Wednesday, when we play Monaco, we can get back to sparking some joy from watching Arsenal. But anyway, it's about the Fulham boys and Nigerian players, so shout out to them. Calvin Bassey did get a yellow card though, which means he now has 5 yellow cards for the season. So he will miss Fulham's next game, which is Liverpool away at Anfield on Saturday, 4 p.m. in Nigeria. And then of course Liverpool have had a whole week to rest as well. Basically 2 weeks without any football. So they're going to smash the hell out of Fulham as far as I'm concerned. So look out for that one. Moving on to Nottingham Forest boys and the guys that are actually flying our flag high the best. Aina and Tella were both in action on Wednesday as they got thrashed by Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium. They then followed that up over the weekend though with a very impressive win. I did mention I think they could beat Manchester United. And what did Nottingham Forest go and do? Of course they went to beat Manchester United. Taiwo came on in the 90th minute, but all I know was a crucial part of this victory. And as I've said before, if they do a Premier League team of the season today, all I know is the nomination at right back. It's as simple as that. That's how good he's been. And Nottingham Forest are in 5th place. They're just outside the Champions League places. They continue to play really well. And next up for them, they play Aston Villa at home on Saturday. So they've got a chance to continue their very, very good form to start this season. As for our friend Ndidi, he played 19 minutes last week Tuesday, so a week ago, as Leicester beat West Ham 3-1. Shout out to Van Nistelrooy for coaching his team again, his first win in his first home game as Leicester City manager. However, on the weekend, we also saw however, there was bad news because Ndidi started, but he got taken off in the 52nd minute due to an injury after a collision with João Pedro. But Leicester, yet again, they're 2-0 down against Brighton after 85 minutes, and they somehow pull it out of the bag to draw the game 2-2. Jamie Vardy scored a great goal, and Jamie Vardy also got an assist, which he squared the ball back for Bobby the Cordova-Reid to make it 2-2. So really impressive from the Leicester boys under the new manager, and we wish Ndidi all the best with the swift recovery. Next up for them, they go to St. James's Park, so that's going to be a hell of a game on Saturday. So really looking forward to that one, and it should be quite the tasty fixture. And finally, in terms of our Premier League contingent, we saw Aribo play 90 minutes and actually score Southampton's only goal last midweek as they got absolutely battered 5-1 by Chelsea on Wednesday. He then played 45 minutes over the weekend as Southampton lost yet again to Aston Villa away. I'm not going to lie to you, man. Southampton are definitely going down. They're absolutely trash. They're literally a bag of piss, man. I'm telling you, 1 win, 2 draws, and they've lost all the other games. And it's bad when the manager starts saying rubbish about the players and their commitments. It's like, bro, ultimately the buck starts and ends with you. So what the hell are you doing? So anyway, bye-bye to Southampton. We might as well say it now. That's how bad they've been. Other fixtures to be aware about. Over the weekend we saw quite a lot of goals, to be fair. Brentford beat Newcastle 4-2. Brandon Bremer was backing on the goals, which was nice to see. Alexander Isak continues to score despite Newcastle failing to win these games. I'll bring that guy to the Emirates, man. I want him at Arsenal ASAP. As I said, Crystal Palace drew 2-2 to Man City. So Man City, Rico Lewis got a red card, dropped points yet again. Ipswich Town lost 2-1 to Bournemouth. That was a bit of an interesting game. Ipswich Town were 1-0 up with like 5 game minutes to go. So their search for their first win at home continues. The irony of Ipswich Town winning games in the Prem and have not won any game at home, but they've somehow beaten Tottenham away. It's the most Tottenham thing ever. And of course, in the tie of the weekend, we saw an absolute cracker of a game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as Chelsea came down from 2-0. They were 2-0 down, and at halftime it was 2-1. And I mean, what a remontada to win the game 4-3. I mean, I would love people to tell me in the comments, have you ever seen a more embarrassing and shameful set of penalties given by professional players playing in the Premier League than the 2 penalties that Tottenham Hotspur gave away? Like, Yves, you earn a salary, you have a brain. Papasa, Cole Palmer is literally going away from the box and you just give him a Gidibo challenge because you think, oh, the ref is not reffing the game all of a sudden. Like, if you have not seen it, I'm sure anybody watching this has seen it, but I'm telling you, if you haven't, go and watch it. It's a disgrace, man. Tottenham, but it's Tottenham. What can we expect? It's just part of their DNA, you know. And then obviously yesterday we saw the El Sakiko as West Ham beat Wolverhampton 2-1. It's a really, really good result for West Ham. Wolves are so unlucky, man. I don't know what Gary O'Neill has done to VAR. Like, free my guy. You know, I'm just glad we've seen the news today that he's going to remain as manager of Wolves. Wolves' next 2 games are Ipswich at home and Leicester away, so you'd like to think that his team will still play for him. Although, when you watch the way Mario Lemina was acting like a crybaby at the end of the game, I mean, we've always known he's had it in him, but it was embarrassing. I'm serious. It was so embarrassing. So anyway, we wish Wolves well, but West Ham, well done. They're now just 1 point behind Man United. Whisper it quietly. Fixtures to look forward to for the weekend. So we have Champions League games currently taking place. Literally, Liverpool game's about to kick off to my left here against Girona in the Champions League. But in the Premier League on Saturday and Sunday, we will see Arsenal host Everton at the Emirates in one of the 3 p.m. kickoff games. Wolves will play Ipswich Town in the same time slot. Newcastle will host Leicester City at St James's Park. Liverpool will host Fulham at the same time slot as well. So there's 4 3 p.m. kickoff games, but there'll be 4 p.m. in Nigeria. The late kickoff game is Nottingham Forest hosting Aston Villa at home. So that should be a tasty tie. And interestingly enough, though, the Sunday fixtures are quite tasty. So there's one fixture at 3 o'clock Nigeria time. Brighton hosts Crystal Palace. This one's an interesting game because Brighton and Crystal Palace are not close to each other, but it's a bit of a big derby. They hate each other for some reason. And Brighton is at least an hour away from Crystal Palace if you're trying to even drive or take the train. You know, so it's an interesting one, but look out for that game. And of course, you've got the big one, the Manchester Derby. 5:30 p.m. Nigeria time on Sunday. Dumb and dumber at the moment. I mean, Man City are what, winless in how many? Yes, they beat Nottingham Forest, but they've literally won one of their last 5 or 6 Premier League games. And Man United, let's not even get started on those bombs. You know, they lose for fun. It's literally in their DNA. So, you know, watch out for the Manchester Derby. It should be an interesting game on that day. And then there's actually 2 8 p.m. kickoff games on Sunday, which is quite interesting because we don't really see this in terms of the Premier League scheduling. Southampton hosts Tottenham at 8 p.m. Nigeria time, and Chelsea hosts Brentford at Stamford Bridge, and they'll be looking to kick on their really, really great form. Because moving on, the last thing to say, there's also going to be a Monday night football game with Bournemouth host West Ham at home. Now, the interesting thing about the table is if you look at the table, Chelsea are now in 2nd place. Well done to them. I mean, I did not see it coming. 4 straight wins on the bounce. Literally scored the most goals in the division, and their goal difference is also the 2nd best in the division, and it's only worse than Liverpool's by 1 goal. And mind you, Liverpool still have a game to play. So shout out to Chelsea, well done. I mean, it pains me to say that, but they're cooking, man. They look good. So Liverpool still top, Chelsea 2nd, Arsenal and then Man City round up the top 4. And then we got Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa in 5th and 6th. And then if you're looking for the other so-called big boys, Tottenham, Newcastle and Man United are 11th, 12th and 13th. All I would say is it looks like we have, I think the quality of the Prem is at the highest it's ever been, to be honest with you. You have 14 teams, give or take, that you could say are pretty decent. And you could even add Everton, Leicester and Crystal Palace to that pack, because on any given day, they could still show you something. So there's 17 really good teams. Ipswich, Wolves and Southampton are scraps. But the irony of that is Ipswich Town and Wolverhampton are still pretty good teams on their day. I mean, Southampton are just, I mean, don't even get me started on them. But even Wolves that I'm praising with all their players, they've conceded 38 goals after 15 games. Like, what kind of goals are they drinking, man? But anyway, I think it's been a very good season so far. And we're beginning to see, you know, after 15 games now, you have to say that you're going to see a semblance of how this table will end. And at this point, it's definitely Liverpool's title to lose. So let's see how everything pans out. In the Championship, Josh Maja got an assist in West Brom's 2-2 draw against Sheffield United. West Brom are now 11 games unbeaten, but they've only won 1 game out of the 11. Yeah, you heard that correctly. That's very, very crazy. Next match, they play Coventry at home on Wednesday, and then they play Watford away on Sunday. Elijah Adebayo played 70 minutes, while Victor Moses played 90 minutes as Luton drew 1-1 against Swansea on Saturday. Next up for them, they play Stoke later today on Tuesday, and then they play Blackburn away on Saturday. Moving on to my favorite league with Nigerian players and Serie A. Ademola Lookman and Atalanta are now top of the league. Initially last week on Monday, as I mentioned, Ademola Lookman played 64 minutes as Atalanta beat Roma 2-0. And then on Friday, he played the whole mid-game, and of course he scored the winner. That's what Ademola Lookman does. African Footballer of the Year, just bossing it up. At this current rate, I believe he's probably the Serie A player of the season, based on how he's performed for Atalanta. And the fact that his 89th minute winner for Atalanta to make it 2-1 over AC Milan moved Atalanta to the top of the Serie A table. So right now, Gasparini's boys are in position 1, and they might just win their first ever Scudetto, or at least their first ever Scudetto in 60 years. So, I mean, what a story. Like, when Gasparini was hired 8 years ago, it was to save them from relegation for Serie B, and they're currently top of Serie A. I mean, that's just fantastic. So watch out for that. That's another big game to look forward to. Literally, in 2 hours, Atalanta will be hosting Real Madrid in the Champions League. So watch out for that game. That'll be a big, big one. And then they play Cagliari away on Saturday. As for Lazio, Dele-Bashiru played very well, and he's been starting. I'm so happy to see it. First on Thursday, they played Napoli in the Coppa Italia. They beat Napoli 3-1. As if that was not enough, they then played Napoli on Sunday and beat Napoli 1-0 in the league. And it was a fantastic goal by Isaacson, in the 79th minute. I also saw Dele-Bashiru crack an absolute cracker of a shot against the crossbar. So you can tell his confidence is growing, and long may that continue. Next up for him, they play Ajax away on Thursday in the Europa League, and then they host Internazionale at home on Monday. That's another cracking game, because when you look at the Serie A table, 5 teams at the moment are separated by 2 points. And the fact that Lazio are one of those teams and Inter are one of those teams, and they get to play each other next on Monday, fantastic. Sempre, just unbelievable. And then Samuel Chukwueze and AC Milan, unfortunately, they are not one of the 5 or 6 teams that could win the Scudetto this year. They are the outlier. They're literally the big team that's bombing it out and playing rubbish and losing all their big games and losing the important games they need to win, especially in Serie A. The good news is Chukwueze has been playing games and starting. It's helped because Pulisic is now injured. But Chukwueze played 90 minutes and scored 2 really good goals in the Coppa Italia during the midweek last week as AC Milan beat Sassuolo 6-1. I still can't believe Sassuolo got relegated to Serie B, man. What the hell? And then he came off the bench in the 90th minute against Atalanta on Friday to play paltry minutes. But as I said, Pulisic has been confirmed injured out until the start of the new year. So you'd expect to see Chukwueze get some more minutes. Let's see if he could get minutes tomorrow when they play Red Star Belgrade in the Champions League. And then they play Genoa at home on Sunday. Unfortunately, Okoye is injured for Udinese and he will be out till February. We of course wish him a speedy recovery, but this is always concerning when a goalkeeper gets injured because when you're out for a 2-month period, unless you're Alisson or like the super established number 1. Yes, Okoye has been the established number 1 for 1 year, but it's not like he's been the super established number 1 for a longer period of time where you're absolutely sure that when he comes back he would start. So let's watch this one and hopefully he doesn't lose his place, because we know it's been a big thing that he's been starting these games and doing quite well for Udinese. Moving on to the Bundesliga, really good news to see for Tella. During the midweek last week, Bayer Leverkusen played Bayern Munich in the German Cup, and guess who scored the winner for Leverkusen? Tella. 1-0, fantastic header. Manuel was a goat in that game because that's why he got sent off. So Bayer Leverkusen had the numerical advantage, which they deserve, to be fair. And of course, Neuer, for all his sweeper keeper behavior, he's now broken his ribs and he's out for a few weeks, if not months. But shout out to Tella. The good news about that is after he got the winner against Bayern Munich, of course he was going to start over the weekend, and they beat St. Pauli 2-1 on Saturday, so shout out to him. They've got another cracking game later tonight. Bayer Leverkusen will be hosting Inter Milan. I think that's a cracking hell of a game to look forward to. And then they play Augsburg away on Saturday in the league. They're currently 3rd. They've conceded a few points to Bayern Munich, but they're never out of it, to be honest. But it looks like Bayern Munich will win the league. Kevin Akpoguma, on the other hand, was back to starting games. So he started for Hoffenheim as they lost 3-0 to Wolfsburg on Wednesday in the German Cup, or the DFB Pokal. But then the problem is he was then back on the bench over the weekend, playing only 8 minutes as they drew 1-1 against Freiburg. But the good news is they are away from the relegation zone at the moment. They are in action in the Europa League on Thursday, so let's see if he gets some minutes when they play Steaua Bucharest. And then following up from that game, we will see them in action against Borussia Dortmund away on Sunday. So that's going to be a tough game. As for Aalborg, Onyeka played 82 minutes as Aalborg drew against Karush 2-2. But thankfully, they won 5-4 on penalties because it's embarrassing to lose to teams that are in the division below you. And then over the weekend, they then drew again 2-2, but he played 90 minutes as they drew against Eintracht Frankfurt and Umar Mamouche. So that's a tough team to play, so shout out to him on that one. So let's see how he'll perform over the weekend when they play Bayer Leverkusen, which will be Onyeka versus Nathan Tella. In La Liga, George Lineker played 60 minutes, Getafe. Crisantos Uche, sorry, I'm already thinking about Ligue 1, forgive me. Crisantos Uche played 60 minutes as Getafe drew 0-0 in the Copa del Rey during the midweek last week, but they won 3-0 on penalties to Copa del Rey on Thursday. He then played 82 minutes on Monday as Getafe beat Espanyol 1-0. Yes, the goals have dried up, but it's good to see Getafe winning and Crisantos starting games again. Next up them, they go away to the Wanda Metropolitano to play against Atletico Madrid away on Sunday. That's going to be a tough game for them. As for Iheanacho, he played 90 minutes in the Copa del Rey. He had to. They played a team called UI Olot, who are probably in the 3rd division in Spain. But kudos where it's due. He scored 2 goals, so we'll give him his props on that. Well done. No, not even 2. I think he scored 1. So shout out to him. And then, of course, yesterday, he was then a late substitute as Villa lost 4-3 to Atletico Madrid. Antoine Griezmann's goal to win this game was fantastic, man. Go and watch the highlights of this game if you have not seen it yet. Next up for Sevilla, they play Celta Vigo at home, but of course, Iheanacho is going to get some slave minutes. And also, the starting striker, Isaac Romero. Sevilla's first goal in this game was absolutely brilliant. I see why people in Nigeria love watching La Liga, because it's on TV a lot more. And the tactical excellence of their goal. Like we did with 5 passes, Sevilla took the ball from their goalkeeper or their left back straight into the back of Atletico Madrid's net. Like 1-touch passing, just incisive, great technique. So shout out to them for that one, but of course it was for nothing. Because talking about great technique, go and watch Antoine Griezmann's goal. As for Omar Sadiq, he did play in the Copa del Rey in the midweek as they played Chukwueze. Real Sociedad won 1-0, and of course he was benched and unused over the weekend as they beat Leganes 3-0. Next up for Real Sociedad, they play Dynamo Kiev at home in the Europa League on Thursday. Then they'll play Las Palmas at home on Sunday. So if I was a betting man, I'll say Sadiq will get 10 minutes in both games combined. Max 20 or 30, but let's see. In Ligue 1, we saw George Lineker play 63 minutes in Monaco's 2-0 win over Toulouse on Saturday. Next up for the French team and the French side, they play Arsenal away tomorrow in the Champions League. Obviously, I hope Arsenal beat the shit out of them, but hopefully he plays well and at least starts. And then they play Reims away on Saturday in the league. As for Moses Simon, oh my God, Moses Simon scored one of the best goals we've ever seen in Ligue 1, one of the best goals we've ever seen in Europe for Nantes. It was a last-minute winner as they beat Reims 1-0 away on Sunday. Moses Simon basically just dribbled like 5 players and just banged the ball top corner, like top bins. I'm not lying, lie. Go and watch this goal. Honestly, Moses Simon, sometimes I doubt you, but when you showcase like this, I love to see it. So shout out to you. And so Hamza Ojediran, he was on the bench. Oh, sorry, Moses Simon's next game is against Brest away on Sunday. And then Hamza Ojediran's Lens, he was an unused sub on the bench, but they did beat Montpellier 2-0 on Sunday. Next up for them is Auxerre away on Saturday. Speaking of Auxerre, Gabriel Ocho played 90 minutes as Auxerre drew 0-0 against PSG. Really good performance from him and his teammates on Friday. They're 8th in the league in their first season back in Ligue 1. That has to be celebrated regardless of how you look at it. So let's see how it performs against Hamza Ojediran's Lens on Saturday, 7th against 8th. As for Gift Urban, he has not been in the team sheet for Lyon in over a month. There's no point even mentioning what's happening over there. Let's see where he goes in January and then we'll take it from there. Victor Rabko also was not in the squad for Nice, so we'll talk about him when he gets back into the squad. But the good news is Akko Adams made his return from injury on the weekend. He played 90 minutes in Montpellier's 2-0 loss against Lens, so we wish him well and may he get back in the starting lineups, potentially starting this Sunday when they play Nice at home. So that's it in terms of the top 5 leagues. So to round up the podcast, all the other leagues apart from the top 5 leagues, starting with Turkey, which is now the usual. Victor Osimhen played 74 minutes and scored a penalty as Galatasaray beat Sivasspor 3-2 on Sunday. If you see this penalty here, he hung the living daylight out of that goalkeeper, man. It was really, really funny. And to be fair to Galatasaray, they played majority of this game with 10 men. So shout out to Osimhen for still bringing out the bag despite those limitations. Next up for them, they play Malmo in the Europa League on Thursday, and they should get a routine win, which should pretty much guarantee them a top 8 place in the knockout rounds of the Europa League. And then in the league, they'll be playing Trabzonspor at home on Monday. Speaking of Trabzonspor, Anthony Okoye did return from injury over the weekend. He played 45 minutes and scored a goal as Trabzonspor drew 2-2 against Kashin Pasha on Friday. So we'll see how Okoye performs when he plays against Osimhen's Galatasaray on Monday. Excuse me. As for Osayi-Samuel and Fenerbahce, he played 8 minutes as Fenerbahce lost 1-0 to Besiktas, who of course are one of their big Istanbul rivals. So that's not a good result at all. And it probably means we might as well just put Osimhen and Galatasaray's name on the Turkish league title. But anyway, let's see how they perform on Wednesday in the Europa League when they play Athletic Bilbao, one of the tougher opponents they would ever face in that competition. And then after that, they play Basaksehir at home on Sunday. David Okoye, by the way, he was not in the squad on Thursday in the Turkish Cup game that his team played. But the good news is that he was in the squad as they played and won. He scored the winner for them against Rizespor. So shout out to him for that goal. I mean, really, really impressive performance by David Okoye, and shout out to him and the rest of his teammates. As you can see with my light setup and the light, today's not been my best setup, or I'll just be managing with all of this. So I'm going to skip the Scottish League and some of the leagues I know none of you guys reach when you're listening to. But in the Premier League, Bruno Yemaji played 90 minutes in their 1-1 draw against Farenz, and next up they play Sporting Lisbon away on Saturday. Zaidu Sanusi is not yet in the squad, but we'll look out for seeing if he makes the squad for Porto in their next set of games. Belgium, main thing to know is Tella keeps scoring goals. He scored the goal for Genk in the Belgian Cup game, and then he played 82 minutes and got an assist as they beat Kortrijk 3-2 on Saturday. So shout out to him. Next up for him, he plays Club Brugge and Rafael Yedika over the weekend on Sunday. As Rafael Yedika, he played 67 minutes as Club Brugge won 3-1 in the Belgian Cup on Tuesday. He then came off the bench in the 2-1 win over KV Mechelen on Saturday. So shout out to them. He will be in action later today in the Champions League against Sporting Lisbon. I don't want to mention the rest of the players because no one cares about them. Sorry to say that in that way. In Czech Republic, Victor Olatunji will be in action in Champions against Feyenoord away on Wednesday. That's the most important thing to know. But I'm going to round up the podcast based on that, just because I have to be honest, my GoPro is too hot and I'm just trying to just record, and I'm not in my comfort zone. Anyway, ones to watch, as I said, Atalanta. Ademola Lookman is playing tonight against Real Madrid. Tella is playing against Inter Milan tonight. Onuachu is playing against Sporting Lisbon tonight. All their teams are at home. Tomorrow, Osayi-Samuel is in action for Fenerbahce away against Atletico Bilbao. Chukwueze is in action for AC Milan at home in the Champions League against Real Star Belgrade. George Lenikena's Monaco play Arsenal at home in the Champions League. And we'll see Victor Olatunji away against Feyenoord. On Thursday, we have a bag of Europa League games. Literally, I can count about 7 already here. So Akpoguma Sofena against Steaua Bucharest, Osimhen's Galatasaray away against Malmo, Fisayo Dele-Bashiru's Lazio away against Ajax, Zaidu Sanusi's Porto against Midtjylland at home, Umar Sadiq's Real Sociedad at home against Dynamo Kiev, Cyril Dess and Leon Balogu's Rangers at home against Tottenham. That should be a tasty tie. Igor Ubo Slavia Prague at home against Anderlecht. That should be a tasty tie. And Jordan Torunariga's Ghent will be playing the Conference League against Baka in the Conference League. On Saturday in League football, Tella against Frank Onyeka's Oberg against Tella's Bayer Leverkusen in the Bundesliga. Wilfred Ndidi, if he's fit, will play against Newcastle, but it's unlikely. Aina and Tara Winnie's Nottingham Forest host Aston Villa. Really, really cracking game between 5th and 6th place, I believe. And then we'll see Gabriel Show against Hamza Algedirion's Lons, so Auxerre versus Lons. On Sunday, Club Brugge versus Genk, so Rafael Yedika versus Arokodare and Girasor. Uche's Getafe go to the Wanda Metropolitano, so that should be a tasty game. Ademola Lookman's Atalanta go away against Cagliari. And then, of course, Akko Adams versus Victor Rapko. Let's see who plays in that game. As for Alex Iwobi and Calvin Bassey, they go away to Anfield. That should be a tasty tie as well. And then there's an Old Firm game between Celtic and Rangers in the League Cup where we'll see Cyril Dez and Balogun play. Finally, Kevin Akpoguma and Hoffenheim go away to play Borussia Dortmund. That should be a tasty tie. And then Aribo Southampton will be hosting Tottenham. Finally, on Monday, we'll see Maduka Okoye's Udinese host Napoli. Hopefully, Maduka, we know he's out injured, so I don't know why this is here. So, excuse my manners on that one. And then we've got Victor Osimhen's Galatasaray playing at home against Antonio Akeme's Trabzonspor. And then the big one on Monday, Dele-Bashiru's Lazio will be hosting Inter Milan at the Stadio Olimpico in one of the top of the table clashes. Star Boy of the Week. Star Boy of the Week, bronze medal, Moses Simon and Nathan Tella. Big individual decisive contributions for their teams. Moses Simon scored one of the best goals Ligue 1 has ever seen to take Nantes from 17th to 13th, and also it was one hell of a finish, literally. Did it all by himself. Arsenal, we don't even have a player that can score a goal like that, if I'm being honest. And of course, Nathan Tella's goal against Bayern Munich gave Bayern their first home loss of the season since March, and also knocked Bayern Munich out of the German Cup, which is always a good thing for Bayer Leverkusen. Silva, Alex Iwobi, amazing form. 6 goals and assists in his last 7 Premier League games. You heard that correctly. 4 goals and 2 assists, including 2 goals against Brighton last Wednesday or Thursday, just before their game against Arsenal. So Alex Iwobi, you're my silver medal. Gold medal, Ademola Lookman. He just continues to tell all of us that we must look. Shine your eye, man. This is a player. This is a superstar in our eyes. He's going to be named African Footballer of the Year next week, Monday. And of course, he has fired his team to the top of the table in Serie A. He will likely or potentially be the Serie A Player of the Month for November. Like, accolades are just rolling in, and he shows no sign of faltering or slowing down, or like the pressure will get to him. So Ademola Lookman, you are my Star Boy of the Week. Thanks for rocking with me. So that's it for this episode 110 of the Nigerian Football Weekly podcast. Thanks again to all the listeners for listening. I really appreciate everybody else. Sorry about my DIY setup today, as I said. I'll make sure that I'm in a much more comfortable situation when I record the next podcast next week, Monday. But thanks again. I hope you continue to follow us, like, share, subscribe, give us your opinions. You know, forgive my sweat as well. We're Nigerian Football Weekly on all our social media channels, and of course on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe. And on Twitter, we are at NFWPOD. Enjoy the football, including the Champions League during the midweek and the Prem over the weekend and the other games in the other various leagues. And until next time, ciao, ciao, ciao. Also, if you could give us a review on Apple Podcasts, if you listen, this will help our visibility, and enjoy the rest of the games. Also, I wanted to quickly shout out all our listeners on Spotify for the incredible growth you brought my way this year. Really do not take it for granted. And thanks again, and keep supporting. Until next time, take care and enjoy the games. Ciao, ciao. Thanks for watching this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and click the bell to get a notification whenever we drop a video. You can also find our social media channels listed below. And of course, up Super Eagles and Nigeriano the ever carry last.